This video continues from part 1 of registers and buses. First, let's discuss what buses actually are. The formal definition of buses is that they are a set of electrical pathways or channels that allow communication and data transfer. To put it simply, the idea is that while registers are responsible for holding on to either pieces of data or memory addresses, buses are responsible for physically transferring that data. Buses are part of circuits, and you can locate them on the motherboard. To give an overview of what buses actually do though, we often say that buses connect the CPU to external memory, like RAM or hard drive, and peripheral interfaces, input-output devices, like your mouse or your monitor. The buses that OCR wants students to know are all part of what we call the system bus, and within the system bus includes the data bus, the address bus, and the control bus. The data bus is responsible for transferring data, and the data bus is also bidirectional. And what this means is that it has a two-way connection between all of the subsystems of the computer. The CPU, the memory, and the input and output systems are all part of what we call the subsystems. We can see from the diagram that the bottom bus, the data bus, has a two-way connection between all of our subsystems. The address bus is used to carry memory addresses from the CPU to memory or peripheral interfaces. This bus, on the other hand, is unidirectional, meaning it has a one-way connection between all of our subsystems. The diagram of our buses supports this claim. Lastly, the control bus, like its name suggests, has a strong association with the control unit talked about in the previous video. While the control unit sends control signals, the control bus is responsible for physically carrying the control signals around. Like the data bus, this bus is bidirectional. For the last part of the video, I want to cover one exam question relating to the buses that were previously mentioned. This question comes from the old spec, and is actually quite old because, surprisingly, there aren't that many recent questions that asks about buses. Anyway, this question just asks us to name and describe 3 buses that are used to convey information between the special registers. And the special registers, by the way, are just registers that I talked about in the previous video. So like the accumulator, the MDR, MAR, or the CIR. The answer to the question is fairly straightforward. We just state the 3 buses we talked about and describe their uses. So we mentioned the data bus and say that it's used for transferring data, the address bus, which carries the memory addresses, and lastly the control bus, which transmits control signals sent from the control unit.